Hello, hello, and welcome once again to a Phoenix Fitness Fanatics magazine, elevating your mind, body, and spirit. We have our featured business spotlight today, as well as our cover feature spotlight. We're taking center stage once again on the Own It publishing platform. What is going on? Marisa Blodorn. She is the CEO of Own It. So I just wanted to give a what up to her on this wonderful Sunday morning. So, without further ado, I am going to go ahead and bring our wonderful guest on in the room. Good morning,
Good
Coach
morning.
Cassandra. How
Good
are you this
morning,
morning?
Tiffany. I'm doing great. How are you?
I am well. I am well. I am so excited to have you here this morning. I know it has been a time coming for us. Okay,
Yes, it has.
life has happened. So I'm just so
Mhm.
excited that we were able to get you on our cover for this month and that we're able to have you here today to talk a little bit about your journey. So please introduce yourself, tell everybody who you are, where you're from, and a little bit about your business. It's a very special business.
Okay. So, hello, good morning, Sunday morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Um, my name is Cassandra, and I am a certified independent Optavia coach. Optavia is a plan that I coach that is a holistic weight loss and mind, body, and soul plan. I have been a coach for this plan for over a year now. I started August of 2021. And I'm from the Southern California area. I've lived here pretty much all of my life, with some short stints in Atlanta when I went away to college. But this is my home. I was born and raised in Riverside, California. So I'm very, familiar with the community. A little bit about me. I am married. I have two grown children. One is 30. That's my daughter Haley, and my son is Duran. He's 25. I don't have any grandchildren yet, but I would love to have some of those. Um, I am a licensed clinical social worker by trade, and I've been doing that for about 32 years.
Wow.
I graduated from UC Riverside with my bachelor's in psychology, and then I got my master's in social work from USC in 1990. So I am a licensed clinical social worker, like I mentioned, and have been doing that for the 32 years. And
Wow.
becoming a health coach was a very easy transition for me because in health coaching, as you know, Tiffany, you're still dealing with the mindset of people and the
Yeah.
underlying reasons why their weight may be an issue or their health may be an issue. But more importantly for me, I became a health coach because of my own health journey, which I will share more about today. And I I made a promise to myself that if I were to be able to understand my own health, manage my health, that I would pay it forward. And that's
Yeah.
what I'm doing. That's what I
Yeah.
will always do in some capacity or another. So
Yeah.
life has been a journey. Even this year, I've had some very serious challenges with my health. So I'm grateful to be here, to be alive, to share with you and to share with your audience.
Man, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So
Yes.
I just have to ask because you've been in, the mental, health area for so long. Now, when you were growing up, when you were in high school, let's take it back. Did you
Okay.
always want to be, in that type of field? Even
Yeah.
back then?
Yeah, that's funny that you said that because that's exactly when it happened in high school. What would happen with me is all of my friends and even people I didn't know would like come to me and ask me questions or ask me for advice. Like,
Mhm.
Cassandra, I was wondering if I could talk to you about something because you seem like you're easy to talk to. That's what I would get. You seem easy to talk to. And so friends would ask me, personal stuff, about life or relationships. And I was their same age and I didn't have any more knowledge than they did. But it was the fact that they felt comfortable asking me and they
Yeah.
felt like they could be vulnerable with me. And I started to notice that was a trend for me. And I
Mhm.
enjoyed that. Like I enjoyed helping people and,
Yeah.
um, you know, just listening really, because a lot of people just want to be heard. They don't
Yeah.
necessarily want advice. they just want to be heard. And so that kind of sparked, like, this is something I want to do. Like, I want to help people. I want to hear about your problems. And then,
Right.
in my own family, there was some struggles we had, and I was always very curious about human behavior, like
Mhm.
why people do the things that they do and what motivates people to make different choices. It's always been a curiosity of mine. So it actually did start in high school. Yeah.
Wow.
Hmm.
Wow. Well, it's definitely you're definitely walking in something that you're very passionate about. So that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
So now this segment, it really is, very dear, to my heart because of, we've discussed, before in conversations we've had, about diabetes and that
Yes.
diagnosis and just how hard that is. So how old were you when you were diagnosed with diabetes?
I was diagnosed in 2017, so that was 5 years ago. So I was 51.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. Right. That's
Mm,
5 years. Yeah, 51. So later in life, came as a very, very big surprise because at that
mhm,
time of my life, and even a little bit before, I had done some fitness challenges. I was in boot camps,
mhm.
and I've always been that way, really. I've always been health focused. Even in high school, I was very active. I was a cheerleader. I was this and that. And
Yeah.
so when I got that diagnosis, I was really, really shocked.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So with that, because there's I know even with my own journey, there were symptoms, there were different things that were going on with me, and I was just kind of just stuck on the hamster wheel of life. And I know probably you were the same, right?
Mhm.
Just
Mhm.
we just get going and we're not
Mhm.
even realizing what our body is telling us
Yes.
until sometimes it's too late. So
Yes.
what were some of your symptoms that you were having, as you were moving through this?
Prior to the diagnosis, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, vague symptoms, right?
Mm,
So, you know, and always kind of chalking them up to something else like stress. So,
yeah.
lots of fatigue, lots of fatigue. I had immense cravings and,
Mm,
a very large appetite. And consequently, I was always overweight. So my
yeah.
BMI stayed around the 30 mark, the
Mm,
BMI scale, and 30 is considered obese, I believe.
mhm.
Even though I was, working out, I always was overweight, right? And I always hung around that BMI,
Okay.
which, as we know, can cause diabetes if you're continuously overweight.
Right.
So, um, but because I worked out all the time, I just didn't think it would catch me like that.
Right.
Other symptoms were like, sometimes I would get tingling in my legs or tingling in my
Mm,
feet, right?
yes.
And then I
Mhm.
would always attribute that to being dehydrated, right? Which I
Yeah.
probably was that too, right? Like you say, that hamster wheel of life,
Yeah.
just kind of going, oh, and I wasn't a big doctor person. And so I wouldn't run to the doctor for every symptom that I had. I would kind of
Yeah.
like, it would come and go. It wasn't
Mhm.
consistent. But when I got diagnosed, those symptoms were persistent and consistent to the point I drove
Mm,
myself to the doctor and said, something is wrong.
yes.
And those
Wow.
symptoms were the classic ones: excessive fatigue, excessive thirst, excessive hunger. I would eat and never get satisfied. I would drink cases of water, okay, and
So
never
interesting.
feel like
Mhm.
my thirst was quenched. Then
Mm,
I'd be at work and my vision would blur. And I thought, oh, I need some new glasses because, I have nearsightedness. So I thought it was that. Then I have thyroid nodules. So I thought, oh, I must have a thyroid issue because that's what I told the doctor when I first went in. Could you check my thyroid? Maybe I'm hypothyroid.
yeah.
But what was profound, Tiffany, was the fatigue. Like I
Yeah.
literally, would take me 2 hours to get up out of bed and out the door every morning to get to work because diabetes, when it's not controlled, you're not getting any energy in your cells, right?
Mhm.
And so I had none. My glucose numbers were really high, and so my body was working really hard to keep me
Yeah.
alive, and I was just exhausted. And I knew that wasn't normal because I usually had pretty good energy levels.
Mhm.
But again, stress, commuting, life stuff. You just kind of think,
Right.
oh, I'm just tired. I need a vacation. But no.
You got to listen to your body,
Mhm.
you really, really do. And I remember that tingling in the feet,
Yeah.
and, and just feeling, oh, I've been sitting for too long.
Yes.
Maybe I just need to get up and stretch, and even getting up, it wouldn't go away sometimes. And
Hmm.
yeah,
Yep.
and oh, it's scary because at that point, your body is already,
It's already there. It's already
it's,
doing its thing. And so, but I have to say, when I did go to the doctor that day, and it was 2 days before Thanksgiving, 2017, and I got the diagnosis the day before Thanksgiving. And I would have never in a million years thought that I had diabetes. Like, my mother doesn't have it, my father doesn't have it, my siblings don't have it, but it is in my other generations of family members, right? But not me, not Miss Health Conscious. And so it was like, and I'll tell you a funny story. That day, I was driving to the honey baked ham store to pick up the ham for Thanksgiving when she called
yeah.
me. She asked me to pull over, and she said, I have something. I know why you're feeling the way that you do. You're diabetic. I said, I'm what? She said, yeah, can you pull over? Are you driving? And I said, yes, I'll pull over. She told me my A1C was like an 11 or 12% at that point.
Mm,
She said, you're near a diabetic coma. I
wow.
really need you to come in right after Thanksgiving. I want you to enjoy your Thanksgiving, but I need you to come in and we need to get working on this right away. And so I was in, Thanksgiving Day, I was kind of there, but not really there,
Yeah,
because my mind was blown, by
of
that
course.
by that news. Yeah,
Yeah,
5 years
no,
ago.
it's traumatic news. I remember
Yes.
that news as well. Just,
Yes.
wow. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut to a quick commercial break,
All
and
right.
we will be right back with Coach Cassandra.
All right.
And we are back. I tell you, I love that commercial. It makes
I
me
do
just want to
too. So
boogie with the
super
little guy,
cute.
right? So much fun. So
Yeah.
we are here with Coach Cassandra Hatcher. She is our November cover, and she is also a right?
Optavia.
Octavia, excuse me,
Yes.
transformational coach. So we are talking about Cassandra's diabetes journey and just what she has done to be able to, maintain a normal, regular life and be able to also give back to those through, her story. So let's talk a little bit about, so did you ever, as you're going through this journey, as you got the diagnosis, things like that, did you ever feel a need to hide it from people, hide it from, your loved ones, people like that?
Absolutely. I did for probably the first 6 months or so. And I didn't even say the word diabetes. I
Mm,
was in denial. I felt shame. I felt stigmatized. It's in our community. It's that one of those diseases that you hear all the time that we are prone to: diabetes, high blood pressure, cholesterol. And so I had, that diagnosis, and I remember saying to myself, no, I think it's just, um, this period of time in my life. I think my body's just overstressed, and I'm sure it'll regulate itself soon, with some change, minor changes. But
yeah.
I never, what was interesting is I never said the word diabetes for a long time. And so because I
Mm,
didn't say the word, when I did tell my family, I didn't describe it that way. I described it like I have blood sugar problems or blood sugar regulation issues. Um,
mm,
So then what happened over time as I began to accept the diagnosis for myself, um, when I would share with my family and friends, and I'd have a conversation and I say the word, they go, "Well, you don't have diabetes, right? You're not really diabetic, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I am." They're like, "But I thought you said that you were pre-diabetic, you know?" So I would do all of those things. I would say pre-diabetic. No, I was not. I didn't have the luxury of being pre-diabetic.
Yeah.
I didn't have the time to turn it around. By the time my diagnosis came, I was well over the threshold.
Right.
And so I want to
Yeah.
say to anybody out here that if you do get a pre-diabetic diagnosis, that is your opportunity to turn it around, because the disease is such that if you don't, and you cross over to that threshold of diabetes based on your numbers, it becomes a different type of challenge. Not an impossible one, but it's your body's chemistry has pretty much changed by then, right? So when
Yeah.
they give you that pre-diabetic dose, that's your opportunity to get it under control before you cross over, basically. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I hid it. I hid it from myself because it was, such a shock. And so, because I hid it from myself, I hid it from others, just in the language that I used. And then I realized I was doing myself a disservice by putting off acceptance
Yeah.
and embracing this journey and
Right.
using the journey for helping others who I know there's many others out here that have this disease.
Mhm.
And so then, in about a year in, I started to accept and start to take, more serious action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's tough. It's a tough pill to swallow. It really
Yes.
is, you know.
Yes.
But it's a pill we have to swallow, and it's one that if we don't, just say, hey, I mean, and really, you just have to kind of embrace the fact that okay, my body has made this change, and now I just have to do what I need to do to manage it.
Yeah.
Put it in, as they say, remission, right? I
Put it
think
in remission. Yeah.
Coach Eshi in our PFF community, she is a type 2 diabetes coach, and she talks
Okay.
about putting it in remission.
Yes.
Which yes, and people out there, if you have received a diabetes diagnosis, understand that it's not the end of the world.
No.
It is something that can be well managed. I mean,
Yes.
Coach Cassandra here can definitely, share, many
Mm-hmm.
ways that she has done to be able to manage it.
Yes.
And, it can be managed with diet and exercise,
Yes.
most definitely. So it's not the end. So what's been the hardest part about having diabetes?
Well, the daily management of it, having to be very in tune with your eating habits, um, being vigilant about your portion sizes, my portion sizes, being vigilant about the quality of food that I eat, when
Mhm.
I eat the food, noticing the trends of when my blood sugars spike or when they dip really low. Um, and just being conscious. You can't, the hardest part for me, Tiffany, has been the loss of freedom.
Yeah,
You know, before I was diabetic or knew I was diabetic, I just ate what I wanted to eat when I wanted to eat it. And I would compensate for overeating by exercising, right? Well, I don't have that luxury anymore. So every time I approach food, I have to think of my disease in mind. Is this serving me? Is this keeping it managed? Or is this going to create more complications down the line with these choices? So I
right.
think the hardest thing for me is freedom is a value of mine. And so I've lost some of that in some ways.
Mhm.
But I realized that that was a necessary thing. I probably was too free
Yeah,
with my diet. And so now I don't have that luxury anymore. I have to be very mindful. I have to have a lot of control. And if I lose control, I have to reel it back in the next day.
yeah.
Yeah, so that constant vigilance that's hard. That's been hard for me.
I think with
Yeah.
that also, just getting people around you that that accountability,
Yes.
community around you. I think that's probably a big part. What do you think about that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so it makes it a little bit easier. Not,
It
it's
does.
always going to be, it's always going to
It does.
be
And being a health coach makes it easier because I'm in the health world. And so,
right.
I have a lot of support in that area, and understanding. And so that
Mhm.
makes it doable. You know,
Yeah.
I really
So,
appreciate it.
so has diabetes ever affected your work and just the way that you do things?
Yes, actually, it did in the sense that so prior to COVID, I worked outside of the home. Since
Mm-hmm.
COVID, I've been teleworking or telehealth working ever since. I've never been back in the office setting. So
Okay.
when I was in office settings, going to work, getting in my car every day, the challenge was, when you work in office settings, there's always food
Yeah.
and parties and celebrations every time you turn around. Like you walk in the door and there's some donuts at the secretary's desk, or there's the vending machines down the way over here. So I was bombarded with these triggers all the time, things that I knew that if I indulged in were going to, be an issue for me and my
Yeah.
situation. The other thing that was difficult for me was I was testing my blood sugars during the day. So I would
Hmm.
go in the bathroom and I have to prick my finger and put it on the stick because my doctor wanted me to monitor, a couple times throughout the day,
Yeah.
and be mindful of the little Sharpie, the little thing that you prick your finger with. I couldn't throw that in the trash can in the bathroom because
Right.
if the janitors would come by and get stuck with it, it was a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to have
Mm-hmm.
all these things, prepared before I would even start my day. Conversations with coworkers about will we go to lunch or whatever, and I would make different choices, and they would question me, "Why aren't you eating the pizza?" Or what,
Right.
and
Yeah.
yeah, well, and then it's like I didn't want to have that conversation, because a lot of times I would get you, and I still get that you're diabetic, you're so healthy, you look so fit.
Right.
You know what I mean? Are you
Yeah.
sure? I can count on 7 hands how many times I've heard that and still hear that.
Right. Yeah.
You don't look like a
Yeah.
diabetic. Yeah, well,
Hmm. What
I
does a
am.
diabetic look like?
Yeah, what does a diabetic look like, right? So, so work was challenging. So since I've been teleworking, I feel I have much more control of my environment
Yeah.
and my timing of eating, and I don't have those temptations.
I have
Yeah.
to agree with you there. The
Mhm.
office environment and all the
Mhm.
treats and all the different things and
Yeah. And the pressure, the peer pressure. Because if you
right.
don't partake, then the questions come.
Yeah. What's wrong? What's going
Yeah, you
on?
don't want any of this. Just a little bit won't matter. But see, a little bit
Right.
for me would just send my blood sugars through the roof.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my
Mhm.
goodness. So we are going to cut to just one more
Okay.
quick commercial break, and then we're going to come back to Coach Cassandra.
All righty.
Wait, you want some more? Wait, you want some more? Okay. Wait, you want some more? Wait, you want some more?
Love that.
And our bag. Yes, all that energy right there, right?
Yes.
Love it, love it. So, as we were talking just a few minutes ago, or just a few seconds ago, really, we're talking about the office environment. Now, how was just? I mean, the holidays in the office. I think that was probably the worst time for me
Yes.
because everybody always brought in the sweets and things like
Yes.
that. And it was just like, gosh, like I just want to like just punch you over there because you brought that to me. But I think what I did for myself is I just would start bringing like little like fruits and little things like that, and
Mhm.
I just would let people know. But just like you said, like people, like, you what? I mean, you're always running, you're always doing this that. That's why I'm always running and doing all
Yeah.
these things because I want to make sure that I maintain, the sugar levels and things like
Yes.
that, and it can definitely be, quite difficult at times. So
Yeah.
what's some advice that you'd give someone that is diagnosed with type 2 diabetes?
Well, the first thing I would say is don't panic.
That's right.
Don't think that you have to do anything, you know, immediately or drastically at the first diagnosis. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
slow down, research the disease, get an understanding of what your body is going through, what its difficulties are, what the issues with blood sugar regulation are for you.
Mm-hmm.
Every diabetic is different. My journey has been very different than any other diabetics because I've had other complicating illnesses that have contributed to my disease. And that's not everybody's story. So don't feel like you have to, like, you know, run and do something, right? Even if the doctor recommends something to you, like medication, you have the opportunity to do your own due diligence and research and figure out other ways that you may want to approach this depending on where you're at in the disease process. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
other thing is don't go into denial. Don't think that because you don't feel anything, that things aren't going on underneath the surface. Because the way one of my doctors described it is this disease can be a slow killer or a quick killer. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go asymptomatic and still be diabetic and then
Yeah.
have a stroke out of nowhere. Okay. So because you feel fine, you feel all right, you're still functioning, you're going to work, you're dealing with life, and you may get tired here and there, or you may have these headaches or whatever vague symptoms may happen, or maybe none for some.
Yeah.
That does not mean that your body is not struggling in some way. So don't panic, but also don't go in denial
Yeah.
because you have a lot of power in your hands about this. Like you said, it is a very manageable thing. I have taken some more serious management tools and added them to my toolbox. Do
Mm-hmm.
you want me to share about that?
Yes, please.
Okay. So, July of this year, I had a near death experience. I had an incident when I was at a health conference in Atlanta, Georgia, of all times, and my blood sugars dropped dangerously low, and I went into a seizure, and I
Oh.
didn't wake up from my sleep. They had just started me on insulin prior to my trip, and when you're on insulin, you must eat. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, this particular event, I had delayed flight arrangements. Flights got canceled and everything. So, I wasn't able to eat throughout my whole travel that day,
Oh,
just snacks. By the time I had a full meal, it was midnight. And I went home to the Airbnb where I was staying, took my insulin, and never woke up. That is very dangerous, and
yeah.
that had never happened to me before and changed my life again. So
Right.
now I wear a continuous glucose monitor on my arm. It's
Mm-hmm.
on the back side of, you can kind of see the little round thing right there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Love, love, love it. It has been a lifesaver for me. I don't have to prick my finger anymore. I take
Wow.
my phone and I scan just like this. I get
Yeah.
real time readings throughout the day. It shows me trends. It shows what my body does after I eat a certain type of food. It gives me a 7-day, 14-day, 30-day, and 90-day view of my
Wow.
blood sugars. And because of this monitor, I'm here, I'm alive, because when your blood
Yes.
sugars drop that low at night, which is what mine would do, I didn't know
Uh,
mine did this, but they've been
yeah.
doing this all along. I never knew.
Wow.
Now I know. So this will alarm me. I'll wake up. I'll eat something like something sugary to bring the levels back up and keep
Mm-hmm.
me alive, basically. I've been able to reduce my A1C 1.3 points since I got this glucose monitor. Um, so this is me. I will do I'm a whatever it takes kind of person.
Oh, yes.
Because I take this thing very seriously. I don't think it's anything to take lightly. On the flip side, it's not something to kill yourself about because that is adds stress and also affects your numbers. You have to keep your stress levels really managed with this disease
Yes.
because
Yes.
stress is, as you know, is a very significant contributor to disease.
It is.
And like you were saying, that hamster wheel, I was on that chronic stress hamster wheel prior to
Yes.
my diagnosis. And I'm sure that contributed to it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's everything.
So, yes. So, this continuous glucose monitor, it doesn't look the greatest outside of my clothes, little white thing. And I don't care. I don't
Right.
care. So, that's how far I've come. I'm wearing something visible on my body that would cause someone to ask me what it is, and I'm glad to share what it is. I'm glad
Yes.
to share it now versus hiding it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. That's a transformation all in itself right there.
Mhm.
I'm gonna have to talk to you a little bit more about that monitor as well offline.
Yes.
Yes,
And you
because
don't have to be diabetic to have one either.
mhm, mhm. And
Yeah.
seeing that's I mean that I think that's key, staying on top of it before
Yes.
anything, happens,
Yes.
really. So
Yes.
gosh, look, we have already hit over 30 minutes. Can you believe it? Now, it's just when you have a good conversation going on, y'all, the time just flies
I
by. But
know.
Coach Cassandra, do you have any
Yes.
words of wisdom, words of encouragement that you'd like to give our audience today?
Yes. I would like to just say that health is wealth and that it is worth every ounce of discipline, um, doing your own research. Um, it is something that we, especially at this time in our lives, in this world that we live in, with these viruses around, and you know, the flu is supposed to be very ferocious this season because of all these different factors with COVID, and that my message is you have so much power in your hands to heal yourself, to manage it. Your body is designed to regulate and heal itself. It wants to do that. So don't abuse the body. Love the body, feed it high nutritious foods, drink lots of water, get
Yeah,
lots of rest. And if you're on that hamster wheel of chronic stress, please evaluate that. If you need mental health counseling, get into it. That's another thing.
yes,
um, do it. It's so worth it. Such a need in our
it
community, especially.
is.
And it will change. And also, it is like you throw that rock in the pond and it has that reverberation. That's what taking control of your health does. When you do it, other people are inspired and motivated to do it. If they
That's
can
right.
see, like, this woman is a type 2 diabetic and she's still out here health coaching and she has this monitor on her arm, well, dang,
Right,
if she can
right.
do all that, then I can certainly, look at this and make some changes myself.
That's
Um,
right.
and
That's an
and
inspiration.
yeah, and be vulnerable with people that are around you that you love. Share your struggles. Don't try to do it alone. You cannot do it alone.
No,
No,
no, mm-mm,
I could have never gotten here alone.
no. Wow. And you look amazing. I tell
Oh,
you,
thank
I
you.
just looking at the cover. Everyone, if you have not seen the cover, you have to see the cover of
And I
our
was
winter.
surfing that day. Listen, I was surfing that day, never surfed before, and I had this thing on. I could be in the ocean with it, and I could see what was the results of that activity on my blood sugars. It was amazing. But so
Yes,
my point is, like you said, I am diabetic, but I'm still living my life, right?
that's right.
I'm just
That's
doing
right.
things like everybody else does. And I want to keep it that way. I don't want to lose that freedom and mobility and things like that.
Right.
I don't want to, become disabled to the point where someone has to, take care of me. So I'm trying to do everything to stave that off as long as possible.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Oh, I
Thank you
love
so
it.
much.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us today, Coach Cassandra. Everyone, thank you so much for taking the time to check us out. If you haven't checked us out live, if you're checking out the replay, I want you to enjoy your Sunday. Get out there,
Yes.
do something a little active today. Don't
Yes.
just sit around. Let's just get out there, get active, and make sure that you're filling your body with good, wholesome, delicious
Yes.
foods, not all that processed nastiness, okay?
Yes.
Because we definitely do not want you to have to, you know, deal with, the diabetes. It is tough, it is hard, but it is
It is.
manageable. Just like Coach Cassandra said, it is manageable. So she and I are both two people that could attest to it being manageable and being able to still live a good life. So
Yes.
and get out there, get active, and we will see you next time. Have an amazing day. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.